One of the courses I've taught every year since I've been here is some form of senior year-long production. It's a 2-semester course where students of the 4 key positions, producer, director, cinematographer, or editor. You also can submit a screenplay. So we take screenplays, match them with 4 people, and create groups. I walk in the fall knowing what the scripts are, what the people in the groups are, and they have 2 semesters to work on getting their projects done. This is really so project-based, and a lot of it is sort of interpersonal management and other kinds of issues.
Opening dialogue.
Action.
Action.
Amazing. Under the white pines and salty sea breezes of Portland, Maine, is a small green post office, home to the curious postal worker, Ella. Interrupting her normal routine of packages and postage stamps, Ella stumbles upon a mysterious postcard sent from Portland, Oregon. Drawn to the card, Ella pulls her coworker, Leo, into the search to discover the owner of the unidentified P.O. box this card is addressed to.
For Postcards from Portland, I'm the director and screenwriter. There was a lot of lead up to me deciding to become a filmmaker. I was living in Germany at the time, actually, and my mom handed me a copy of Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Wes Anderson film, and Roald Dahl was growing up always my favorite writer. So just having that connection of seeing a story I'd seen on paper so many times being brought to life on film, that really kind of brought something in mind that I'd never seen before or thought before. And I was like, I want to do this. I love stories and I want to put them on screen.
So in my film, Postcards from Portland, I am the director of photography. I think growing up, a lot of the times I was the more techie guy in my family. So when I was in my room most of the time by myself, I would usually just look up different tech things I could do. And we always had cameras laying around the house. I would walk around my house just filming my family and just bothering them and all that kind of stuff, which was really cool. And once I got into editing, I would have all these memories that I had lined up from when I used to film, and I would just edit them together to make little home movies.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
I'm the editor / sound designer. I want to say it was watching music videos growing up. The first one that comes to mind is Missy Elliott had these narrative stories throughout her music videos, and I just loved that weirdness that evolved into Lady Gaga levels of storytelling that is completely visual.
I'm the producer of the film, and I kind of do the budgeting, schedules, and stuff like that. So in high school, I took a film class and I loved it. I was wow, this is so cool. I love shooting different things. So it really got me interested. And then I was I could see myself doing this for my lifetime, I guess. And so then I was yeah, I want to do film. And then I became a film major right away.
I met Rachel Menheimer, who is our main character, Ella, when I was doing an experimental film. And when it came time to casting for this, I was posting stuff everywhere. The entire crew was posting everything anywhere to get people to come in and audition. Rachel actually messaged me and she's like, "Are you still auditioning?" And I said, "Of course, please come in." And she came in and it was just it was immediately this is Ella right here, because it doesn't feel like she's acting most of the time. We'll turn off the camera and that feels like her a lot of the time. She has this spunk to her that Ella really carries, and I'm so happy that she's brought to the character. Kyle was the same situation where Kyle, who plays Leo, he walked into the audition room and just as a person, it felt right, where I was just this is Leo, this is the character.
I basically had a lot of conversations with Rebecca, just asking questions about her past and her mannerisms, because she's a super complex character just because of her past. But I also know that she's very fun, very talkative, likes to joke around. So that was a little tough to find the balance between the two, because I didn't want it to be too dark and depressing, but I also wanted to make sure that I got the message across that she isn't a perfect, fun-loving person, and she has things that caused her to do like to go against the rules and the regulations of like the post office.
Self-talk. Oh, that does very obviously do.
We're actually shooting scenes 1 and 2 today, where it's a smooth transition from the outside of a mailbox and we're seeing the inside for a stylistic intro card.
So what if, like, this is how it looks, and then the mailbox creaks open, and then the postcard falls in, and then when it creaks back, it's like, and then it just goes back to being normal.
So this scene we had planned out since the very beginning, but what we didn't plan out until today was the practicality. So it was so many takes of just trying to get the card to fall right in the perfect spot while we were doing the transition. So yeah, Steven had to drop it from a fishing line several times in order to make it look right.
Drop down, Steve. Ooh. And action.
Steven?
Britt.
I'm gonna go faster too.
All right, camera rolling.
And action. Steven. Steven. And cut. Why did we like suddenly just start like? That was perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was great. Hey,
Perfect. It was just like amazing.
You got it down pat?
We did that.
We did.
We did that. That's my
You like
right
it?
there.
There we go.
Needs to be higher.
Yeah, because with how far back we are, without getting those poles in the frame.
So with it being our second semester, we're in the latter half of shooting our film, as we're actually crowdfunding for our film. The funding would really assist us in just wrapping up our film to make sure it's the best product it could be.
Don't want to see cuts.
Okay.
I'm such a picky
Then-
person.
No problem.
Okay.
One of the things that did inspire it for me was when I was really little, I would always write letters home to my grandmother because as a kid, I traveled around a lot. I mean, the longest I've lived anywhere was 4 years. So mail was something that I could always like write a letter to my grandmother.
Postcards from Portland is about connection and the connection that we all have with others, whether that's a friend or a loved one. Cut.
I think that was really good.
Yeah, that was really good.
What a director does is essentially surround himself with people who are smarter than him to help him make his movie. No, but like, I mean, other stuff too. Other stuff too. No, I mean, like overseeing shots, you know, like directing the actors, like, you know, from movements through blocking them on set, getting the shots lined up, kind of just like overseeing a lot of things on set to make sure that like their vision is being brought to life by the people that they're collaborating with.
As a producer, it's my job to kind of really help start this film, like get it from the ground up and get to where it needs to be so we can start shooting the movie and eventually create the movie. And the producer is kind of the person that pushes the film through to every single process until it's done.
The first semester I was doing mostly sound. I wanted to have a good amount of footage before I start editing to figure out the pacing of the different scenes and what should go where. But now that we're pretty much almost done, we only have 3 days left to shoot. It's time to start editing, and we got a good amount completed already. Mm-hmm. About 7 minutes of the movie been edited. Okay. It's about.
My position is director of photography on Medium Air. Deciding on like the cinematography of the movie, Brock gave me a lot of. He let me kind of input a lot of my opinions and ideas. He gave me a lot of control over what the cinematography would look like, and typically DP doesn't really have that control since that's the director's decision. But he trusted me on it, so.
Hello, is this Mr. Munsell? Oh, sorry, I must have the wrong number.
You're good.
Sorry.
So you're gonna have to come around from this side of the couch and then sit down when the scene starts. I love movies, and I've always liked writing, and I've always kind of just time I'm like I write, you imagine the story in your head, and just to see that on the screen. I always just thought movies were just such a magical medium. It sounds kind of corny, but just I don't know. I just love movies. Just love everything about them.
I feel like there's nothing quite like it in the world, you know, job wise. Like, I feel like everything else is boring, but films, like, I personally love daydreaming. I do it all the time for some reason. I don't know. I can't help it. So film is so cool is because, like, all the stuff that you have in your head, you can actually make it come to life. And instead of, I'm bad at explaining things, but so if I make it into a film, people will be like, yeah, like, that's amazing or something like that. So that's the reason why I want to be a film major.
It's not like when I was younger, I had to pick up a camera. I feel like that's such like a typical filmmaker story. Like, oh, I picked up the camera. Although actually, I think I did pick up the camera when I was younger, like most kids do. But I actually think I picked up like our home videotape, like our VHS, and I like picked it up and then I like put it somewhere and then left it for like 30 minutes rolling. Like my dad was watching it the other day and he just found it like 30 minutes of like nothing. He's like, oh, Remy probably had it.
You good? That sounds good though. Sound ready?
I have a really talented cast of actors, and just sort of trying to be able to pull the best performance I can out of them through how I choose to direct them. So just kind of learning how to direct people on set too.
3 of our main characters are not student age, so it was a little difficult to cast them. So we cast our main antagonist, Mr. Munsell, because I saw him in another student film, and I asked the director of that film if I could have his contact. And then I gave the contact to Kai, and now he's in our movie.
Mr. Munsell, no first name given, just Mr. Munsell. I asked Brock where that name came from. He said it's a shade of yellow, and if you watch the filming, you saw the vests. They were originally called out as yellow in the script, but they got changed to red. But Mr. Munsell had on the bright yellow tie.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes, I'm the mayor of this town, and I need your support to stay mayor. Are you a registered voter? I didn't catch your name.
Munsell.
Is that the first or last?
Mr. Munsell.
Yeah, okay, right. Well, I hope we can count on your support.
So I first heard about the auditions in a poetry class, and Brock, who wrote and directed Media Mayor, made the announcement that he was having auditions for his film, and I was like, I definitely would like to be a part of a movie.
So those are the 3 shots.
And then keep on here for a conversation like this, and that's on me.
Sound speed.
Scene 2, shot 3, take 2.
Action.
So this is our first day of shooting. We're shooting at Jake's house. Jake Jackson, our wonderful editor, who, round of applause for providing a location. And that's the set. That's the set we're operating with. I looked at the camera. Anyway, For Profit Profit is a dark comedy about 2 friends who grow apart when one of them, who has long been kind of abused and controlled by the other friend, suddenly becomes a messiah of God and gains prophetic powers. So then he realizes that he can take responsibility and take agency for himself.
Different circuits, you have range for 1 and 3. For 2 and 4, it's the air conditioner.
Okay.
For 9, it's the heat.
So we were just looking at the circuit board in our room, trying to determine the amps. So we did that by, I have 120 volts out of here, so it'd be 2400 watts divided by 120 volts, and that gave us how many?
20.
Yeah, that gave us 20 amps. My position is editor and sound design, and so I do both the editing as far as like post-production, editing the video, putting it together. And the filming side of things, I'm doing like all the sound, running the microphone, running the sound mixer and all that stuff. So these are wireless mics. So these will be situated in the actor's, like this will be fastened on something, probably hidden under his like pants. And then this little thing, these little things will clip onto them under their jacket. And then you can, it'll be like kind of down here. We're going to try to hide it, obviously, and make sure it doesn't rustle around.
Okay. As long as you feel confident with it, I'll take your.
Yeah, they're all set up though.
You know what you're doing. I'm the writer-director. I'd say cinematography is probably where I was more experienced in film, along with writing. But with directing, most of my directing experience came from theater. I took an entry-level film class, and I was kind of a natural, and that's where I was like, this is what I really want to be doing. I had leukemia when I was 3 to 4 years old. I was diagnosed. So I spent a lot of time like doing blood transfusions and doing all of that necessary stuff. And as that was going on, most of what I would be doing was a lot of film watching.
Yeah, I think filmmaking is still like the ultimate art form. It combines sound design, visual, like photography, acting, writing. It's like all of these art forms kind of combined into this like really wonderful synthesis, and so that's the main reason why I like want to pursue it as a career.
Yeah, you're kind of
Right here.
How's that?
I am.
Can you grab the just go with the barn doors?
Yeah, because it's like.
Wait, is there any way?
This is my first time producing. I really didn't even know much about the role coming into it. I had worked with Justina in some of my classes before, and she said it was going to be a fun project and all that, so she talked me into coming.
Ready? We're good. Do you want to go get to sleep?
Do you want us to tell you when you're in the shot?
I think it was like high school. I got more into like documentaries and stuff about like social work, like through documentaries, that kind of thing. So around then was when I really decided I wanted to like be a film major and like make it my career.
Stick the boom in there and here for light, but then audio, sound. Yep. Okay.
Profit, scene 6, shot 2, take 1.
Action. Okay.
How about you get out my car before you stain my seats?
Okay, cut.
I know this guy, he probably got like 3 other films or whatever, so he probably took it like easily.
This was the only film I auditioned for, and this is the first time that I ever actually got cast in anything,
Seriously?
including the musicals for the thespians, the plays for the no refund theater people, and any other short films.
Huh. I thought you said you did like The Shining and like the other ones. Yeah, like 2.
Yeah, but I wasn't acting in them.
Ah.
This is the first time I've been acting in college at all.
Damn.
So yeah.
I hadn't worked with Billy before. Jake, I think I'd maybe worked with him a little bit on one project before, but never really like worked with him.
The only one I had worked with previously was Jake. Junior year, he had directed a film that I DP'd.
He told me he was working on this screenplay based on sort of his personal religious philosophy and like kind of analyzing, kind of like looking at religion from like a very, he says secular perspective, so like kind of understanding like religious belief and like kind of what having godlike powers would mean for a human being.
Everything.
Well, it's an attempt to emulate morning sunlight in a way that's more stylized. So like this is a very orangey, low color type of shot. So this setup's pretty easy. It's just a 650 pointed in through the window through blinds, and then we have a practical light on a dimmer, so it's brought down a little bit.
Because
It might be a default menu setting. I'm not sure if my roommate's coming back anytime soon, but
Is that gonna wake me up? Dumping it on my shirt.
all right, let's get this real quick.
let's do it.
Let's go. I'm sorry. What was the question again? Yeah. In that vein, I think we've done a pretty good job. It's definitely a whole lot a different experience, so I don't know if I'm the most qualified to say that.
So a lot of the visual style came out of trying to make it look interesting, because there's a lot of student films that take place in apartment rooms, but it just looks really flat. Looks like a big empty room. So I incorporated a lot of like close-up shots and a lot of camera movement to try and get as much intrigue into a look as possible.
Oh shit. Yo, I'm so sorry.
Heck! What are you doing here?
Cut.
Just
Let's
go
rewatch that.
Oh,
I am so sorry. Hey, Sleeping Beauty. Welcome back to the land of the living.
Heck! What are you doing here?
Mark it.
Scene 3C, take 2.
Beautiful. Action. Pickup card. And cut.
Our biggest challenge was location. Like shooting in a post office, like that's illegal, we found out. And then we tried to look in other locations, and it was just like no one was responding back to us. We have this great idea, like we have everything else planned out, but the biggest thing of location, like we didn't have.
When I initially heard that was going to be a challenge, I was very concerned, especially considering, like I said, the entire film wraps around that location. Our team did everything we could to try to work around it in terms of reaching out to post offices. In the real world, in the industry, you're going to have to be faced with things like that, where you have to adjust the scripts or just work around these constraints you have.
Oh, wow.
Essentially what happened was I was on Google Maps one day just perusing post offices in the center county area, and I stumbled upon this one in Lamont, PA, which it's like a nice 10-minute drive away from State College. So we went to them and they were like, no. And then we went back to them and they said no. And then we went back to them again and they said, okay, yes, fine. You can do it at these hours. So it was a lot of being very persistent, but very nice.
You're going to keep one hand on it, and you're going to put one hand on it. Can I check?
Yeah, I was trying to put this here as the stopper, which it works fine, so I don't stutter.
Sound speeding.
Amazing. Camera.
Rolling.
It was really incredible getting to be in there, at 10 p.m. when we could go in after hours. And I think I'm just really thankful we had a cast and crew who was willing to do like 2 a.m. shoots at this little post office in Lamont.
What's that?
Here.
Love and miss you. Stay warm and hug a lobster for me?
Cute, right?
I guess.
Greatest challenge I've faced so far as a director, probably just sort of dealing with the weather. There's like a lot of shots that we have for exteriors, and it's sort of film shot in the fall. So just to try to go back and recreate some of that in the winter months with the snow and everything like that.
I think the biggest challenge that we faced so far is definitely the weather. The weather definitely is not cooperating with us currently. It snows when it only snows on the weekends, which is the most important days that we need. So we can't, like, we're still looking for a day that we can, you know, film whenever it's not snowing.
We did have a lot of delays in our group. Like a lot of people either they got sick or had something else come up, or just I don't know. There's a lot of BS that caused stuff to get either their fault or not their fault. But there's a lot of stuff, like we had a lot of cancellations that shouldn't have happened. It's always better to just get it done when you can, because you know you're never sure if you have it tomorrow, like this. Because
this isn't how I'd like to have finished my senior year. You know, everything was just coming together, and along comes this virus.
Honestly, I didn't really know. I hadn't been keeping too much attention to the coronavirus.
I mean, coronavirus, obviously not. Like, this was just a way out of left field.
I figured maybe it would come to the United States. I didn't think it would be like such a massive, widespread pandemic, though.
And obviously, we were aware of what the coronavirus was. We had no idea that it was going to come over here and cause such havoc.
We were already a bit behind on production. We weren't exactly where we wanted to be going into spring break.
And that's kind of where the nightmare is.
We filmed about 60 to 70% of what we needed. And so unfortunately, we're still missing a huge chunk of the film, like the beginning and the end specifically.
We go into spring break and we're like, all right, we have 2 scenes left to film. We'll be able to knock that out like the weekend after spring break.
We felt like confident that we were going to be able to like take care of stuff the way we wanted to coming back.
We're halfway through spring break. I'm still in town working at the equipment room when on Wednesday of spring break, we get the news that the entire campus is going to be shut down.
Being the producer on it, I was trying to imagine as many of like, you know, shit situations like kind of blowing up, trying to like account for the stuff that was going to go wrong. But I mean, never in a million years would I have thought that a global pandemic would, you know, come and kind of throw a wrench in.
We've still got these 2 scenes left to film. They're 2 very difficult, very intricate scenes, and also probably the 2 most important scenes in the film.
Obviously not being able to come back, we've kind of had to resort to some rewrites and figuring out some ways to get this finished.
So we've had to change the whole plot basically, and Billy has rewritten the entire script to kind of adapt to the current circumstances.
So what we're planning on doing is for the opening and then like the very ending, we're going to kind of do sort of like a Princess Bride, Shrek kind of thing where it's like a narrator, you know, kind of giving context to the beginning and end of the story. I have a camera. I just have like my own DSLR and stuff. And we're going to go out and like film just some kind of like basic shots of like the locations and then props that are relevant to the narration.
But Tommy made a great discovery, and Heck died. This is how one man, by chance, stumbled upon the powers of a god, and how another takes it to his advantage.
Scene 13B, take 3.
Action.
Can you just explain what's going on?
What? There's no name. It's just an unidentified box. That's exactly what they told me. So you guess it just got lost in the mail. And then you send another and another, and they all come back.
It's been really helpful for me as a student, especially as a film student, having that experience where I'm really focused in on this one position that I have, because especially in my experimental work, I would be DPing, I would be directing, I would be producing. But with this, I was just directing, and it was an amazing experience to get to kind of let go of my control a little bit. In the end, like, I couldn't have done this by myself. There's a reason there's so many people involved.
This is a lesson that I've been learning since like I started film, but like it feels like we filmed for forever. Like I feel like we spent so long filming, and then when you look at it, it's for a 10-minute movie. So it's crazy how much work and effort and planning and execution goes into making a film to make a product that's in a small package. But it's still, you wouldn't know by watching it as like the casual viewer how much work the teams actually do. These teams are amazing, and they've dedicated hours of their time to make these films.
I feel like I gained more ideas of like what it means to be a producer, and then I also feel like I gained like hands-on experience, like being on set.
Definitely working with a person editing for their film. I've like learned a lot about just like how to do it correctly, how not to like step on anyone's toes to give them what they want.
I knew we were getting being at Postcards from Portland is one of the best experiences I've had at Penn State, and it's something I've only shared with a few people, like the cast and the crew. I think when it comes out, it'll be one of the most like proud moments, just because it's a team effort and I've been working on it for so long. Just the different dynamics and like the senses of humor. It was very fun because Rebecca can be like super creative and sometimes serious, and then like really happy, and Britt is kind of sarcastic and funny, and then Steven's the most sarcastic, and then Justin's just like a fun go-lucky guy.
I think my favorite part has been working with the crew. I've just been really impressed with what we've been able to do, and that's been my favorite part, is just watching us like actually do this.
I also love like working with everyone. They're just so amazing in everything they do.
I think stepping out of my comfort zone, definitely, because I think the story of Postcards, I really enjoy it. It's just not a story I would typically imagine myself filming.
Kind of funny because the film was about connections, and I feel like I've made so many connections through it, just with Brittany, Rachel, Kyle, Justin, and Steven. It's all been so amazing.
Okay. That's a wrap.
Woo!
Favorite part of the project has been working with the actors on set and like working with my crew. Just the collaborative process of filmmaking is really fun, and learning how to better direct people, as far as just like learning the tools of director, like how to motivate my actors and how to just sort of bring the vision to life on the screen. It's really satisfying when you can write something and then see it actually on the screen too. It's really an exciting feeling.
If anyone knows me, I love being on set. So I think my favorite part is just being on set and having that atmosphere when everything's going right, obviously. Being on set and laughing when like with a cast or the crew, having a good time, but also doing what I enjoy, like filming the film, like making the film.
This is the first project where I got to be like, I'm the DP for this project, and it looks great. So that's my favorite part, but it's not like the whole film, like the whole experience was great, and I learned so much from it, and I pushed myself so much, and I hope that I can continue that work ethic where I can just keep pushing myself to learn more and be uncomfortable in situations, because that's really how you learn. You put yourself in situations you don't know what to do.
The greatest lesson I've learned is to be patient, but not like freaking out about the little things, I guess, and to understand that, you know, things are going to go wrong. It's just more how you react to them and how you deal with them when they do, because you have to inevitably plan for things to go wrong, almost in a way.
The greatest lesson that I learned from this experience is to definitely stay organized, because if you're not organized as this role, working on this role as a producer, you're not going to get anything done. So I think that was a growing point for me, to really just sit down and get everything organized, and it actually helped me in like not just in film but in life as well, staying organized.
No, sir. I'm here to ask for support for Ray Carlson for mayor.
Ray Carlson? Is that dude still alive?
Yes.
The last day of filming was extremely bittersweet. It was a very exceptionally cold day, so I know we were all relieved when we got the final okay on the last scene, but it was also sad saying goodbye to everyone. I got pictures with everyone, and it was hard to know that that was the last time I was going to be Cheryl Carlson. I'd gotten so attached to the character and to obviously the crew and my fellow actors, so very bittersweet.
The last day of filming was the one where I mentioned we were trying to do the fall day in January. And, we're all there, three of us actors, the crew, and doing the shots. And at some point, the decision was, that's it, we've got what we need. The crew starts packing up, and I'm told, all right, thanks, you're done, goodbye. And it was kind of a sad experience, just walking away from that whole group and realizing that the whole process was, or at least my part of the process was all done.
I hope that they continue to follow their passions. They're all extremely, extremely talented in what they do, and also extremely great to work with. So I hope they just continue to follow their dreams, and I hope I get to see their big productions someday. Maybe be a part of them. No, kidding, but I would love to see their work in the future.
I think the most important lesson I've learned is just a social lesson, like learning how to communicate with people, learning how to like balance the director's vision with my own input, and kind of like making sure that we're on the same page, creatively speaking, and that we're all committed to the same level of commitment.
Well, if I'm going to be a producer again, definitely being harder on people on like establishing schedules and timelines more in advance. Being more on the front end of like scheduling would definitely be something I'd be more aware of in the future.
I've learned a lot about like set procedure and just being able to communicate with people. I believe I've figured it out, and that's a lot of the stuff I'll carry with me. My favorite part, the people and like being able to express the creativity of it. Pulling together a crew
the flag if you
is something that's very stressful but very rewarding.
I really love our like two main actors. I think their energy is hilarious, and like their performances are great. They really brought the characters to life.
I mean, definitely being on set and getting to work in person with everyone, just getting to, work with everyone on set, because, that's such like a different kind of vibe and, atmosphere than anything else.
Watching the footage and like remembering certain shots and remembering what I was doing at the time, and like going through all the raw footage and all the dailies is definitely fun too, just because it's in a way it's like going through your personal memories, honestly, because it's just outtakes.
When you work in film, it kind of turns into just working with your buds, with your friends, especially if it's something that you're passionate about and it's your vision.
Are we ready?
Then being able to pull everyone together to bring that to life, it means a lot.
Career goals are to do some freelance work, maybe outside of Youngstown and Pittsburgh, and to stay in the indie scene. I don't really feel like going out and doing the big Hollywood thing right now. Maybe eventually, but for now, just to maybe like PA on some indie sets and try to get involved in that scene.
After college, the great goal is to be a writer-director, just to work in the film industry. I'd be happy doing cinematography. I'd really be happy doing most things in film. I just want to work in film. I do really enjoy the whole process.
After college, hopefully I'll be doing what I'm doing for Postcards for Portland, but on a bigger scale. I'm hoping like 10 years from now to be a writer and director.
So the goal after I graduate is to immediately go to New York. I know where I want to be is to be a production manager on a set. And like I said before, I really do love being on set. And so being a production manager kind of ties in the logistical aspect, which I do enjoy as well, and filming on a set.
I'd probably want to travel somewhere, either California, New York, Florida, Georgia, with a stable studio company, probably PA or anything they'll have me do just to work up the ranks. And then while I'm doing something like that and getting a stable paycheck, I'd probably want to freelance on the side, which is more like practice for me and, experience to build a portfolio.
I'm looking for salary-based jobs, probably specifically in post-production.
My goal is being a DP. Most likely I'll be a PA or a AC at the highest possibility, but just shooting for PA for now.
Well, I'm debating between like going back to school or like looking for like a PA job and building my way up. So I don't exactly know what I want to do, but I know I still want to be in film and I still want to like create amazing projects.
After I graduate from college, 3 weeks, my plan is to try freelancing, see how that works out. I also want to try and get internships so I'm more familiar with the studio work and the media. Then I want to go to graduate school and get involved in like more rigorous program. Then after that, I would like to go the independent film route.
I've been doing some cursory things. I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of extra time, so I've got another semester before I'm going to be going out into the real world. So that hasn't been as much of a press on me as it has been for others, but we'll see.
I'm looking to get a job as editor/freelancer in New York City, where I can be with the people that I really want to work with.